treat today. Dr. Tommy John Jr. is here to speak to you guys just for about 15-20 minutes and answer some questions that you guys might have. I'm very interested in speaking, on learning from him, and learning about what he teaches. So yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. I appreciate the opportunity. Like he said, Dr. Tommy John. Name sounds familiar. I am the son of Tommy John, who had the first surgery and came back with success. To give you a little bit of background on me, so you guys know where I'm coming from and why the hell I'm out there today, so I'm for you guys, okay? I was the Gatorade State Player of the Year in Minnesota in 1996. Went to Furman University. Not many people know where that is. It's East Coast, South Carolina, and I played middle infield and pitched. After my freshman season, I was invited to play in the Cape Cod League. Dream come true, everything was working out. And then I got an infection in my shoulder. I had a little bit of shoulder pain, and they were just going to make sure. It was a league like this. It was called the Clark Griffith League. I was playing in right before the Cape invited me out, and they inject dye into the socket, and the dye got infected. And so my whole shoulder got infected, and I got real sick. And that's when I kind of got into rehab and asking questions and about training and preparation and got real serious on it. But I was never the same after that. I ended up playing 3 professional seasons, but I had to decide on a position. So in college, I was second base, first base after the infection, and DH'd and pitched a little, and then I pitched professionally. So I had to make a decision. So the point of me saying this is I was on both sides of the fence. I know what preparation is as a pitcher. I know what preparation is as a middle infielder position player. And there's 2 totally different things, right? So after that, I got into training and performance. Training high-level athletes at the highest level of the NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, to working with people with MS, motor learning problems, and then just basic injuries like plantar fasciitis, ACLs, stuff like that, tendonitis. I started to see a trend where all these injuries were starting to not happen to people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s or just professional, but it was like leaking down into younger populations. At that same time, I was training and learning about performance and reading in the manuals and doing personal experimentation and clientele work and all this stuff. I was also doing baseball lessons. I did over 11,000 baseball lessons for my own business. So I've seen technical, mechanical breakdowns as well. And I'm getting to this. This will all lead somewhere to let you guys know where I'm coming from with this whole thing. So in that whole lessons realm, there were still injuries coming into my baseball lessons, and I couldn't, for me, do a lesson for somebody who was injured at the same time, okay? So I ended up spending that lesson time doing training and breaking down injuries, and I got obsessed with why injuries occur. So, fast forward to now, I ended up adding a chiropractic doctorate to my list of skill sets, being that the brain controls everything that the body does. So that was the highest part of the food chain. So that's where I'm at now. I'm a chiropractor, classically trained, but I'm a performance specialist. Not just sports performance, but performance in life. So whether you have cancer or you have to have Tommy John surgery, you have to perform in life regardless. And if we can do that to the best of our ability, we end up having a pretty fruitful life and this limitless potential. Okay? So now, let's do a little background on my dad's surgery, because this is some of the stuff that people don't get. 40 years ago, his elbow exploded, and he came back. Now, there was no protocol in place, guys. So there was no doctor leading him. Dr. Job, who was the doctor at the time, just said, listen, we're going to have to follow you on this whole deal. You're leading the way. That doesn't happen in medicine now. Doctors force people into these holes, square peg and round holes. He led himself and figured out on his own, based on feel, what he needed to do. And I'm just going to give you guys some little tidbits to what he did that people don't talk about. But if I were to have the surgery today, he'd be the first person I'd call him. Or I'd call me and then go through to him to find out exactly what did you do. Because you pitched 13 seasons after that surgery with no protocol in place and didn't miss a start because of his elbow. 13 seasons and didn't miss a start. Something was right there. So I'm going to break down just a little bit of this, and then you can apply that to whether you're a middle infielder. Any injury that occurs, you can apply that same philosophy, okay? So now, everybody thinks that just injuries just occur just all of a sudden. Trauma, like car accidents and falling off of buildings, yeah, that's trauma. That's all of a sudden. But like these accumulated sports injuries are, man, like, this is bothering me, and then Achilles ruptures. The body will warn you well before stuff happens. And it warns you with symptoms, pain, sensation. So if we can tap into how we feel and what's going on and really go inside ourselves, we'll find out exactly how we're operating. Can we do this? Is my preparation lacking? So did my dad have his body warning him? From 1963 to 1974, he had elbow pain for 11 years. Now, what did they do for elbow pain back then? They inject cortisone into it. He had 40 cortisone shots. 40. That's illegal now. You can't do that. So his body's warning him, like, dude, stuff isn't right. You've got to change your ways. He goes in with cortisone because you just pitched. You pitched, and that was your job. And the body's like, I can't do this anymore. Ligament blasts. Now, it's a great story. He comes back. Awesome. Now let's talk about what he did in preparation. He iced because the Dodgers and Yankees told him to. They made him ice after his starts. But when he got done, he jumped in the shower and let hot water hit his arm. The guy that came up with the RICE protocol all of a sudden backpedaled. I don't know if you guys know what RICE is, rest, ice, compression, elevation, right? It's Dr. Merkin. He said he was wrong. I haven't iced athletes in 15 years. Athletes are injured. I didn't ice when I was a professional baseball player. So just giving you guys some ideas. Don't take my word for it either. Go search out on your own, all right? But from an injury standpoint, we want blood flow, not a lack of blood flow. Ice decreases and lessens, slows the healing process. So he monstrously let heat hit his arm and his elbow a lot after he would ice because he had to ice. But it didn't feel good, okay? He never long tossed. He threw off of mounds. Pitchers throw off of mounds. That's where we're supposed to perform. Great long tosser, awful pitcher. What good is that, right? Get on mounds, pitch, learn your craft, throw lots of baseballs. He would throw sometimes 90-minute bullpens. 90 minutes. That's unheard of today. Now it's like 30 pitches. How do we know 30, 40 pitches is the mark? We couldn't possibly know that. You know what I mean? So we pitch till we're done preparing. Yeah, today was a good day. Okay, we move on. But his preparation to be able to do 90 minutes was where it was. Now, just an example, we could get into a lot of the training stuff, and if you ever come to me and talk to me one-on-one, we'll break down even more things. I just don't have time to do it right now. As an example, he did 2,000 to 2,500 shoulder repetitions every single day with 5 pounds. 2,500. In my office, that's not really that far-fetched, but in the realm of training, it's like, what? And physical therapy would be like, that's insane. There's no way. But think about it. The velocity that you guys are swinging bats at, the velocity that our shoulders are having to rotate at, is radical. Our preparation has to exceed our performance, and that's where it's lacking today. Okay? So just from a basic standpoint, those are some of the principles. Those are just principles. They're not Tommy John surgery principles. They're just training principles. It's just the way it has to be. A stimulus in training has to exceed anything you guys are going to experience on the field. And on the field, you might experience some real serious stuff. A collision at second base, right? A brawl. A bat, okay? A bat hitting a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. 90-mile-an-hour fastball into the hand is 32 pounds of force into the hand. 32 pounds. Imagine a 32-pound dumbbell right here. It's tough to imagine, but that's what's going on if we're capable of throwing 90 miles an hour. All right? So that was just his example. Now, that was 40 years ago. He was going on field. So fast forward to today. I didn't invent anything, but I've approached injuries that same method, that same way, and the body will heal itself. It tries. That's what inflammation is for. That's what swelling is for. Cuts heal on your leg whether you want them to or not.